Welcome to Math 105, where we are talking about the statistics lab. So first thing to do is make sure you create a title page with the lab title, which we are on the stats lab. Your name, date, course, make it again look professional and nice and neat. So with that, we are on to problem 1. It says health and wellness food stocks 5 loaves of bread. Below is a probability distribution. You want to know how many loaves of bread they will sell on average and the variance of the distribution. So please go back and recall from chapter 8.4 at the very beginning or at the very end of the first page what variance is actually meaning, and then again on how to calculate your standard deviation. So in this problem, we have the template that's laid out here. So we're just going to follow along with this template. So we have your X values in A3, 0, 1, 2, 3. And if we wanted, we can just drag and drop, and you can just highlight and go, not a huge deal. We have P of X. .05. Double check that we have entered it in correctly. Okay, then we have X times P of X. So make sure nothing is cut off. I might like to take a moment and just make sure things are centered, they look good. Perhaps things I want to put in bold before I go and launch into the problem. So you'll notice that I might play around with the font. There we go. So once you're happy with it, then we can kind of continue on. You'll notice down here I have the mean, which again I want to bold, and then the variance. Okay, so now that we have entered in the template above, starting in C4, we will be multiplying the X values in column A by the probability of the X values in column B, drag and drop. So what we're trying to figure out is your mean. In our case, because you have your X value and your P of X, we have 2 variables, we need your expected value. So we're gonna multiply this times this one here and go ahead and hit enter. And notice that it does tell you the formula here, X times P, X being here, P being here. Now we're going to do as I said, just drag and drop. At any point in time, you can click and it'll show you which cell is being highlighted. And then if we continue on, it says to calculate the expected mean in C11, we need to take the sum of the values in column C. We can do this by entering in the following formula. So we have this formula here where it says equals sum. And then we just highlight everything in that cell. So this being a key component to a part of our question, I'm going to highlight it so that it actually is something that brings our attention and goes back to that. So it says to calculate the variance, we need to have the mean and subtract it from the X values and then square the difference by multiplying the probability of the X value. So we're going to do exactly as this says right here. Now we can enter in the formula as it is suggested right here if we would like to in B4. Otherwise, I'm going to show you what we do in, I'm going to make a mistake on purpose, I should say. So it says, okay, I'm going to open up my parentheses, take my X value, subtract it from my mean, close my parentheses, and you'll notice that it now has disappeared, but I have this memorized already. So to square it, we're going to raise it to the 2. We're going to use that little caret button by hitting Shift 6. And then we're going to multiply this by the probability. So that in B4. Go ahead and hit enter. By no means do we need that many decimal places. So we can shorten it to at most 4. Let's see, do I say how much? No. So we're going to just do that and then drag and drop. Now notice that some of this should come up with like a big red flag, right? So some of these values here, if I double click on it, that when I do it, do you see what's happening? I'll click on maybe one more. Notice that anywhere that I'm clicking, let's take this one, right? This red cell here, there has nothing in it, but I really need it to have my mean in it. So that just means I need to lock in this cell. To lock in your cell, we're going to be using those dollar signs as we have learned from our previous sections. So now that that is fixed, we can then drag down here, and that looks a lot better as far as your variance, or going to calculate your variance. Now I put your variance in the wrong spot, so if you followed along here, please change it. There we go. So now with your variance is always the sum of these values. Thinking back to chapter 8.4, where we had to do the template by hand. We're now doing the same thing, but with your Excel sheet. So now we're going to sum up this whole thing right here. It's okay if that value is in bold. We can make that all bold. And I guess I can leave it. Otherwise, I might shorten it. Let's do 2 decimal places since your mean is already in 2. Again, put some things in there. So with that being said, in your text box, let's answer the following. So inserting a text box. I want to answer the following. A, what does the value of your mean actually mean in the context of the problem? B, what does the value of your variance actually mean in the context of your problem? C, in E12, label standard deviation. In F12, calculate standard deviation, round to 4 decimal places. Okay, so here we want your standard deviation, and here you're going to enter in your equation. Now, there are many, many ways to calculate your standard deviation in Excel. However, unless you know very proficiently what Excel does, and like what the difference is between some of your standard deviations and what it has for R type, because we saw back in chapter 8.4, there were lots and lots and lots of ways to calculate a standard deviation, and Excel doesn't know which one it truly wants. So either you have to go digging for it, or looking back at your chapter 8.4 notes, there's a very easy way to calculate standard deviation. So when we're talking about the context of your problem as well in your other questions, make sure you reread the problem to actually get the context. So reread problem 1 at the beginning. Make sure you save your work as you go, and we're moving on to problem 2. It says the average American citizen drinks an average of 6 cups of water per day. Assume a normal distribution and a standard deviation of 1.5 cups. In a text box using college level sentences, how much water is 1 standard deviation above the mean? How did you obtain this value? So like walk me through it, really like spoon feed it to me. Same thing with 2 standard deviations now below the mean, and then within 3 standard deviations away from the mean. So we have this problem that we have here. So let's fill out your template. We have your mean, standard deviation, we have your x, probability of x. So we have 6, 1.5, 3, 1 standard deviation above, 2 standard deviations below, 3 standard deviations below, and 3 standard deviations above. Now, because these are cut off, let's practice trying to widen these. Now we can read it all. Again, before you really get started, maybe you change the problem up a bit, the formatting of the problem. These are just things that I like to do. I might also consider centering it all, just things to make it look nice. All right, so in a text box, describe, oh, nope, that is actually in a text box here. So let's put those in a text box. How much water is 1 standard deviation above the mean? How did you obtain this value? I'm going to change that question a little bit. We said 2 below the mean. And see how much water is 3 standard deviations from the mean. Okay, so those are yours. These cells are here to make you, instead of do it on your calculator, I want you to use the what's given here and actually like put it into Excel. Make Excel be your calculator. That's what I'm going to be looking for, and I will be taking off points if you just tell me this is that your answer is right here. I need Excel to do the calculation for you. So that is A, B, and C. Now let's say, suppose we want to find the percentage of Americans who drink less than 3 cups a day. So in cell B7, type in the following formula. So we have 3 cups here, 3 cups being the the people who drink less than 3 cups. So to find your probability, we're going to be entering in this formula into B7. So it says equal normal distribution, and notice that there's a bunch. We are going to be clicking this one, normal this, and notice how it tells us exactly what it would like. So your x value being 6 up here, in B6, so number 3. Your mean being right here, 6, your standard deviation here, and then cumulative. It's just saying, do you want a normal CDF or a normal PDF? CDF being cumulative, this is true. If we wanted specifically at 3, it would be false. The ones that we're working with today, we will all be using true. Go ahead and hit enter. Now this is the percentage that we would get. Now, by no means do we need that many decimal places, so let's shorten it. Because it's important, let's also put it in some sort of highlighted box. So D, write a sentence describing what the value in B7 means. Give as much context as possible and in college level sentences. So I need all of the things. All right, then it says, suppose we want to calculate the percentage of Americans that drink more than 7 cups a day. So in C6, let's type 7. So C6 here, we're typing in 7. In B7, copy the same formula from, or sorry, that should say C7, my apologies. So in C7, copy the same formula from B7 with your new X value. So we're going to be, we could, if we wanted to, pull this over, but we would have to lock in cells. So it might be easier to just repeat it. Normal distribution, your X value, your mean, your standard deviation, and true. Oops, I already had a there. And again, let's shorten this a little bit. Now, this is the probability, right? Before I say this, it's hard to show it on here. Let's see if I can do it on a whiteboard. Annotate. That's something I can do on here. Let's see. Maybe I can try and draw this. So on Excel, anytime we use this normal distribution, it's going to go from, oh, let's try that again. It's so strange. It is going to, yeah, no, that one's fine. Oh, smart pen. What on earth is a smart pen? Nope. Oh, okay. So it's going to go, so if I make a bell curve, vanishing pen, that sounds cool. So if this is our normal bell curve, started off really good, you guys. If this is our normal bell curve, anytime we do on your, what is that called? Your Z table, right? We normally go from your mean and we go to our specific value, right? And then we get this probability. However, what we are doing now in Excel is not quite the same. Excel works a little bit different from your calculators. So instead, right, our mean could still be there. We could still have the mean here if you wanted, whatever it is. So in our case, it's 6. Don't know how to get a different color. There we go. So the way that Excel works, instead of going from your mean to that value, we actually start at 0 and then go to your value. So if we have your value here at 7, then what we have just calculated is all of this percentage. Now, is this a percentage that we want? Well, if we're trying to find, it says, suppose that we're looking for the Americans that drink more than 7 cups a day. So from 0 to 7, is that more than 7? No, it's going to be less than 7. But the main idea is that anytime we use this normal distribution, we go from 0 to that value. Now that plays a huge role in what we are doing in part F. So let's see if I can exit that out. So it says in B8 right here, write the probability X greater than X, so something like that. Then it says we have the formula. So we now have a formula equals 1 minus B, and it shouldn't say B, it should say C7. That is my mistake, C7. So this will give the opposite side. So it should give not this yellow bit, but on the other side of that 7. So in another text box, in E, it says write a sentence describing what the value in C8 means. Useful context, so give as much as possible. And describe how we obtain this value or why we have to obtain it like this. Okay, so now F. Ooh, look at that. It just follows us around. Oh, I just totally did not mean to do that. Okay, now I need to see if I can get that off the screen. All right. So it says, in a text box, find the percentage of Americans who drink between 4 and 7 cups a day. Describe how you obtain this answer in detail. Place your work in cell D8, and if done correctly, you will only need to change one cell. You may need to change, make a change to one other cell. So think about now, right? We're adding another context to the problem. So if these are going to be your X values, right? We're now working with those between 4 and 7 cups a day, right? Well, what do you need to do as far as this? If you want to get rid of this 3 and perhaps replace it with a 4, that is totally up to you, right? But we're just working for some F. Now I'll give you guys a small hint one more time. Okay, so let's do just regular color. Let's try this smart pen. Okay, so we are, oh, okay. That's so not what I need, smart pen. We are going from here, there you go. There's our little curve. We have 6 here. We have 4 cups here. We have 7 cups here. So we already have your 7, so we already know a little bit of this region. So from your previous problem, right, we said, well, this percentage right here, right, this one in C, what is that, C8? In C7. So in C7, we have the probability. We have all of this probability, and that came out to be 7, 4, 7, 5. Ooh. So this is 7, 4, 7, 5, right? However, we also now we really are searching for this part right here. But how Excel works, we said, is always from 0 to your value, or 0 to your value. What are you going to notice? What is going to happen, right? We first need to find, I'm running out of colors, we first need to find 0 to 4, right? From 0 to 4, and think about what we are doing, okay? So that's all the help I can give you on this problem. So save your work, give as much context to the problem, save it when you're finished. Now it's time to fly solo, and let me get rid of that annotation from here. Okay, so it's now time to fly solo. So do this question alone without help from me. I'll fill out the template with you guys. I'm not going to like talk you guys through this question by any means, but I do want to make sure you have the proper layout. It does say here that the gray is stuff that we're not going to be filling in. So the gray you can either leave as blank or you fill it in and do not put any values in here. I will go ahead and read the question though, just to round it out. But otherwise, I'm going to be just doing the template and letting you guys go with the problem. One thing I will say, there is an extra credit. However, that is only with, if you read the whole page, a lot of my students last semester were not reading. It says, use your answer to help you in part B. So this extra credit is only an addition to part B. You still have to do part C and D. All right, so let's try out this problem. It says, problem 3 is an IQ score, which are measured by the Stanford Binet test and are normally distributed with a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 16. Follow the template below and fill in the necessary values. So we have the mean here, standard deviation, lower X value, upper X value, probability A of X, probability B of X, probability A, X, B, probability one minus. Okay, so let's expand that. All of this I want in bold. Let's see, we have A, B, C, D. Again in bold. Other things we want to do, let's fill in some gray. So it looks like from C3, 4, C3, 4 here, we're just going to change that to gray. This will be filled in with a little bit of gray. This one is gray. This stuff is gray. Let's see, where's my percent sign? Percent and inverse. Okay. So I have all of that. I would like to make sure this is Times New Roman, center everything. So it looks nice to me. I just want to make sure everything is fully shown. It does look like from here to here, we are going to merge and center. This is called the Stanford Binet test. And then you have the Welshler's test, Welshler. We also have things in orders. Okay, so this is just kind of the starting template for you guys. Again, leave the stuff in gray. There should be nothing, no values in this gray area. That is why it's kind of blocked out for you guys. Otherwise, read through it, see what you guys can come up with. Definitely use your chapter 8.5 notes. This is all about 8.5.